This is Nithar Ramachandra from the NR Hour Sports Show. This is episode 895. I'm joined by a really special guest. His name is Freddie Stevenson. He's a former Florida State and NFL fullback. Man, his story is really inspiring. He went from homeless to the NFL. We're going to get to all of that. And now he's a podcaster. And I got him on good timing because college football is back, NFL is back. So we're going to talk about that too. But I want to talk about his inspiring story first and how he got to the NFL. And first of all, Freddie, I just want to say thank you for joining the show. It's truly an honor. And obviously, you're from Florida. So how are you and your family doing?
And right now, everything's good. Florida weather is unpredictable. Started off sunny this morning, and now it looks like we're about to get a whole bunch of rain. But that's Florida for you. But we can't complain over on this end.
Yeah. So before we get to your story, I just want to ask you about your childhood growing up in Florida. What was it like growing up in Florida, and when did you get started in like playing sports? At what age did you get started, and did you have any like role models growing up?
I think I started off playing football maybe five years old, and to be honest, when I first started off, I didn't really have, I would say, role models in the game. I was just kind of playing the game for fun, and then as I started getting into it and realizing that I may have a chance to be pretty good at it, that's when I started to look at other players, and that was probably around like 8 or 9 years old. And I'm a Bucks fan, so like guys like Allstott, Mike Allstott, guys like that, those are guys that I looked up to. And as I got older, Devin Hester, that was a guy that I loved watching him play. Percy Harvin, I loved watching him play. And it's funny because I played at Florida State, but he was one of the guys I loved watching play when I was younger.
Wow, yeah. So let's get into your story right now. So if you want to tell our fans and about your story, then we can go from there.
Okay. Yeah. My childhood, it was definitely crazy. Early on, we started off with pretty good means, and my father, we didn't know at the time that my father was a huge drug trafficker in the area. I mean, I didn't know. My other family may have known, but I didn't know. Like, we had pretty much anything that we could ask for, and then I didn't know until like a big party happened, and we seen like it was huge drug dealers in the area.
Oh, wow.
And at the party, it's crazy because I go outside and they were trying to keep me away from everything. And people that read my book, they'll read about the story. But I run into a situation, I think it's candy, but it's actually a big crack rock. And I remember I got a whooping because I tried to pick it up and eat it. Wow. And then my family's cussing out everybody for having it outside. And that's when it was like, okay, like, I'm still young, but as I got older, I realized, like, this is what was taking place. And fast forward, my father, he gets incarcerated. The feds come kick the door down, and everything immediately changed from family that had everything to not having anything. My mom, she has a tough task of raising 5 kids on her own. Times got hard. She's working 2 to 3 jobs, trying to make ends meet. We found ourselves homeless at times. And it was tough, bouncing around from place to place, just trying to find a meal each and every day. You didn't know where that meal was going to come from. And I remember a day in particular that stood with me all this time. And it's the story that motivated me all this time. If you look at my Instagram, it's StruggleMate105, my Twitter, StruggleMate105. And it's a day we go to a McDonald's. We hadn't eaten all day. It's like 8 o'clock in the evening. My mom takes us to a McDonald's and she orders a cheeseburger. And we didn't know that she only had $1 to her name at the time. And the total came out to $1.05. And for some reason, the lady, the cashier that day, she didn't want to allow my mom to get the burger without the nickel. So we watched my mom. She had to go around McDonald's and beg for a nickel. Then eventually somebody gave her the nickel. She walked us outside and cut it into 5 pieces and started handing it out to everybody. And as we're eating, my older sister notices that she wasn't eating. And she asked her why. And then the rest of our siblings, we looked around and we offered her some food. And she just burst into tears and turned the food down. And that was a moment that stuck with me because she sacrificed and we knew that she was hungry. But in our situation, we knew you don't truly know like how bad you're struggling because you're a kid. You're still trying to have fun and make the best of the situation. But that's when I really realized that, okay, it's pretty rough right now because she hid so much. and she never allowed us to see her sweat. She always kept a smile on her face. But that moment, it stuck with me, and that's ultimately what's been my motivation all these years.
Wow. So for you, how hard was it for you, and what did you learn from that experience? Because obviously it's tough when your father gets incarcerated for some horrible stuff, and your mom, seeing your mom going through and being a single mom, watching your siblings and even yourself and being homeless. So how tough was that for you? What did you learn from that?
I think the biggest thing was fighting through adversity. Just seeing my father being taken away as a kid, you don't know what's going on. Your father's he's still a hero in your eyes. You don't know what's taking place. But just seeing how my mom responded to adversity, I think that's something that I've been able to apply to my life. No matter what we're going through, she always found a way to get through that situation. I always kept a smile on her face, and she never got too down. She never got too high, never got too low, and she always fought. She's a fighter. And that's one thing that I've been able to take from her and apply to my life.
What were some of the things that you would do to cope with it? And obviously you overcame it. So what were some of the things you guys did just to cope with it and try to overcome it, and what you did?
I think the biggest thing, my mom, she was just always try to do things to keep our mind off of everything. And then for me, as I got a little older, sports were my biggest thing, just kind of getting away, and that's what kind of gave me an avenue to release that frustration, release that pain, and that was big for me.
So let us know, when did you start actually playing football, practicing football, picking up the ball, and when you stepped on the field for the first time, what was that feeling like, just to come from the street and now playing football?
Yeah, when I was younger, I used to always walk around they got me a football when I believe I was like 3 years old. And they say I used to always run around with it. And my mom was like, we're gonna put him in sports. He's always running around with his football. And I remember when I was 5, they tried to put me in a league, because my father, I believe when I was 5, he got out of prison. And he comes back home with nothing, and we're still a family that doesn't have much, and we couldn't afford to play in the league. Right. So some of the coaches from the league, they invested in us and they paid for us to get in the league. And I just remember, like, man, I'm finally doing this. Like, I was just out there having fun. I didn't really know what to expect. And I remember my first game, I believe I scored like 3 touchdowns. Wow. But I remember on my first touchdown, my dad, he races down to the end zone. He beats me in the end zone. So it's kind of like life coming full circle. I didn't know if he was going to be out to witness me growing up, and you could tell like that was a moment it was a surreal moment for him, because he gets to watch his kids grow up, when there was a time that he didn't know if he'd be able to witness that. So it was definitely cool.
Yeah. So speaking of that, what was it like seeing obviously your father getting released and having the whole family back together just to watch you play football and scoring that 3 touchdowns? And what was that like, just playing in front of your family again?
Man, it was great. I know when I was younger, we used to go visit him in prison. I didn't really realize what was going on, but when I was around 5, I'm starting to see things a little bit, and it's like, man, my hero's back in my life, and it was just like I said, it was surreal, and just for him to be able to experience that moment, and I was just cheesing from ear to ear. When he met me in the end zone, it was a great feeling.
Wow. Yeah, so now fast forwarding to your high school career, what did you learn in high school, and did you play any other positions other than fullback in high school?
Yeah, in high school I was actually one of the top linebackers in the country. That's why I got recruited at. I think I ended up in the top 250 in the country. I was ranked the number 14 overall linebacker in my class. So yeah, I was pretty solid on the defensive side coming out of high school. I got switched to fullback in college.
Oh, wow. So did you ever think to yourself, maybe there's a chance that you could play both positions at the same time? I mean, not at the same time, but when you were playing?
Man, it's crazy when they switched me to fullback in college. How they kind of sold it to me. They're like, man, we want to cross train you. And part of me was like, man, this is BS. They're just saying this to get me to switch positions, because you don't see people playing both sides. And I remember them giving me the opportunity after I switched to fullback my freshman year. They're like, if you want to go back to linebacker, you can. We just knew that you wouldn't get much playing time there because we had a lot of veterans on the team. Like, if you want to go back, but we do believe that you can play in the league longer at fullback. But it's up to you. And I ultimately went through the spring and to make my decision. And I tried fullback out for a spring because my freshman year, we had a guy ahead of me. So I was just kind of sitting back and watching everything. But spring was my first opportunity to get full-time reps at the position. And when I went in the spring, they gave me the opportunity to play running back, do a lot of different things. And I kind of fell in love with the position during spring, and I didn't want to go back to linebacker.
So before we get to your college recruitment process, I want to ask you, what's it like to have the support system around you and your family? Obviously, starting from the coaches from the league you played in and chipping in for you guys for you to be able to play in the league. So what's it like to have those support systems still around you and supporting your family?
And it was big, especially coming from our background. They knew that how important it was for me to get out there on that field, and just for them to invest in me and believe in what I had going. It was huge, and I mean, I'll always appreciate them for that.
So now let's get to your college recruitment process. Obviously, being from Florida, you went to Florida State. Did you have any other offers out there? And what made you choose Florida State?
Yeah, I actually wasn't gonna go to Florida State.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to go to Texas A&M, but my mom didn't want me to leave the state of Florida. And I graduated early, so when I signed my papers, I was only 17.
Wow.
And she said she wasn't gonna sign the papers. She's like, you got to go to a school in Florida. When I'm going through the recruitment process, she's not talking to Texas A&M at all. She's only taking calls from the Florida team. And I understand just our relationship, everything that we've been through. She wanted me to be close to home, and ultimately it worked out for the best.
So, did you get any offers from like Florida Gators and UCF, all that?
Yeah, UCF, all the Florida schools offered me, but Florida and Miami, because I had a big injury my junior year.
Okay.
And Florida and Miami were the only schools that kind of held off to see how I bounced back from my injury. And they tried to hit me back up at the end of my senior season once they seen my film come out. And I told them I'm not interested because all these other schools took a chance on me when I was down. So I'm going to roll with them.
Yeah, so what was it like when you signed, when you made the commitment to Florida State, being close to home again, playing for a great college team? I love the way they play, and obviously they're a big time team. You won the national championship with them, but what was it like just to be with that team and playing in front of those fans?
We knew that they were building something special. I believe my senior year that was the year that they were expected to win the national championship, and they had an upset at the NC State, and then they lost to Florida later that year. But you knew that they were getting close to that level, like they were turning that corner, and we knew that if we could get the right pieces in there, that we could turn that corner and win us a championship. And it's crazy that my freshman year we go in and we win the national championship.
Yeah. So speaking of that team, obviously you produced right away. In 2014, you appeared in the starting 7 of those games as a fullback, and 15 you played in front. You got to block Dalvin Cook. What was it like? What was it like playing with Dalvin Cook as obviously a great running back in the NFL right now? And what was it like playing with him?
Man, we knew early on with Dalvin that he was going to be special. His freshman year, he came in the fall camp, was still learning the playbook, and they put him in the scrimmage one game, and he was going against the ones and embarrassing everybody. And we were like, man, once he learns the playbook, it's a wrap, because physically he's more gifted than anybody that's out here. It just comes down to him learning the playbook. And man, just playing with a guy like that, people don't understand how unselfish this guy is as well. Like, he's a guy that works hard, but he sacrifices so that other people can have opportunities as well. I tell people all the time, man, like, Dalvin's one of those guys, when you see people get more involved in the offense, he's going behind the scenes like, coach, we got to get this guy involved. And a lot of times you see a lot of these stars that they're selfish. They want the ball all the time. And don't get me wrong, he's competitive. He wants to rock, but he wants to utilize the other weapons in the offense as well. But you see a lot of these guys that they're selfish and they want the ball. They're me guys, but he's a true team guy that really wants what's best for the team. And I think that's one of the most special things about him. And just playing with him, we just were able to build a chemistry together, and we were able to do some special things.
So before we get to I want to go back to your freshman year where you guys won the championship. But before we get to that, what was it like? Because Florida State has a great tradition, a lot of great history there. So what was it like wearing the same uniforms as Dion Sanders, Charlie Ward, who I had Charlie Ward on the show last year. So what was it like wearing the same uniform as them?
Man, sometimes you just got to pinch yourself. It's like, man, it's crazy. Like, especially when you're young, like saying that you're going to play at these type of universities, and then you actually do it. Like, not many get that opportunity to do it. A select few in the world get the opportunity. So just to be able to live that dream, it was crazy. And like you said, the Charlie Wards, the Dion Sanders, the Warwick Dunn, just to know I was representing those guys that paved the way. It was special, and we knew that it was something that we couldn't take for granted.
Yeah. So going back to your freshman year, what was a message from your coach that year for you guys to stay composed, stay focused, to win that championship? And what was it like winning that championship?
The message that year, they kept talking about NC State. That was the game. That was the upset game that kind of killed their national championship hopes the year before. So the whole entire season, whenever something wasn't going wrong, a guy was slacking, they would just say, all right, remember NC State. Remember NC State. And the guys would immediately get on point. And the older players, although we came in and we didn't experience that NC State game, they used that to fuel them because they felt like they should have been playing for a championship the year before. And that was really ultimately what motivated us the whole season. Like, don't get relaxed, don't get complacent. Y'all know what happened last year with the NC State game, and that's ultimately what it created a different monster in that team. I think the year before they said it, they got complacent at times and it cost them. But the team was able to stay hungry the entire season. And I think that played a big role.
Yeah. So what was the first thing you guys did when you guys won the championship?
Man, I think when we won the championship, like usually after games, I think we were out there for like 2.5 hours. Just everybody, it's like a surreal moment, taking pictures. Like, it was crazy. And usually after things like that, because I played in a lot of different bowl games, it never takes that long to get guys off. Like, and they weren't even in a rush to get us off the field. Everybody was just enjoying that moment. We're all taking pictures, enjoying the moment. And man, I don't even know how to explain that one. Like, because in high school we never won, so to experience a championship like that, it was surreal. But yeah, it was about 2.5 hours. It took us to even get on the buses. And then after that, everybody goes and everybody's partying and stuff. You're enjoying the win, and it was great. We had a few guys. It was funny. We had a few guys. We get on the plane the next day after the game. Man, we had like 3 or 4 guys throwing up on the plane because they got so drunk after the game. So, but yeah, we definitely had some fun.
Hey, the after parties are the best while winning a championship. So the after parties are always the best.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are feeling it though. They regretted it on that plane.
So, but going into your final year, you got to rush the ball for a little bit. You got 95 yards, 13 carries, 4 touchdowns. What was that like? The coach giving you the opportunity to rush the ball.
Man, it was cool. And like I said, that goes back to the back I was telling you about earlier, Dalvin. He was telling just he wanted to show love. He was going to coach like, man, let's get Freddie more involved. And that's ultimately why you saw what you saw my senior year. He went and vouched for me, and the coach gave me more opportunities in the running game.
So now, did you get, obviously senior, you got invited to the Senior Bowl. You were top rated, one of the top players in the Senior Bowl too. And what was that experience like playing in the Senior Bowl?
It was cool. I loved the experience. It was fun. And I think we were on a team with, I think I had Hugh Jackson as the coach.
Oh, nice.
And it was definitely cool. I love the practices. To be honest, the NFL practices, like the structure, it was a lot easier than college. College was like, I don't know. But NFL, it was structured. And it didn't really beat you down as much as the college practices did. I guess because the rules are different in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely love the structure. Just being able to compete with some of the top players out there. It was definitely cool to experience.
Yeah, so from that Senior Bowl, did you ever think to yourself that maybe you could get drafted? And obviously you were undrafted, but did you ever think you could have got drafted?
I think the biggest thing for me that was a question going in was the production, not as a blocker, but in the pass game and the running game. And I knew that it was going to be something that they questioned me about, but it was weird because I was talking with scouts that had been scouting me like since my sophomore year, and they knew what I could do with the ball in my hands, but they're not the decision maker.
Right.
And so it was weird to see when I'm meeting with some of the decision makers, them questioning whether or not I could do certain things. And I'm like, yo, I'm one of the best pass catchers on the team. It's just I don't know what we got so much talent at Florida State. I can't say it just didn't make sense to me. Like
Right.
I wouldn't use. Of course, I'm a guy that can do a lot of things, but if you got top receivers, you got one of the top backs in the country, you're not going to be favoring your fullback all the time. So yeah. I kind of understood it, but it kind of bothered me once I got to that process because I knew what I could do with the ball in my hands. But that's what I wanted to showcase at the Senior Bowl, and I did a pretty good job of doing that.
Well, yeah, so going after the draft and when undrafted free agency started, how many teams kept calling you, and what was it like just to choose your own team, and what made you choose Chicago Bears?
The Bears actually were a team that reached out to me. They reached out to me on the first day of the draft. So I'm like, hold on, like y'all reaching out to me, we taking fullbacks in the first round again? But they were like, they got a draftable grade on me. And they were telling me they were looking to draft me, and I remember they traded up for Mitch Trubisky, and they lost 2 picks with him, and then they traded up for Eddie Jackson, and they lost 2 picks with Eddie. And I remember they had 1 pick left in the 5th round, and they drafted an offensive lineman. But immediately after they drafted him, they called me, and this is the 5th round. They're like, man, we don't think you're still going to be on the board, but if things work out the way you're not drafted, we need you here. And that's ultimately why I ended up rolling with them, because I know even at the Senior Bowl, they were big on me. The Redskins did offer me way more money, but I had I felt like Chicago was a better situation for me, and I think it was because when I got there, the fullback that they had on the roster, they cut him as soon as they signed me.
Wow.
So, but yeah, that's ultimately why I went with Chicago.
Right. I think me and my friends were at that draft that year in Philly, the 2017 draft, and that was a crazy draft. But I want to ask you, once you signed with the Bears, what was it like getting the opportunity? And obviously Chicago was the first team that believed in you. So what was it like going into that training camp? And you got to play with great players like Mitchell Trubisky, Hakeem, and that defense was loaded that year too. So what was it like playing in the city of Chicago?
It was dope. You're playing for a team with as much history as the Bears, man, so much tradition. Like I said, you don't take it for granted. You want to represent that organization the right way. But yeah, I was going out there with a point to prove. Like, I know I belong in this league, and I know I'm going to dominate in this league. So that was my mindset each and every day. Like, yeah, I accomplished my goal of playing in the NFL, but that's not enough.
Right.
We got so much more that we're going to do in this league. So that was my mindset.
And obviously you got to cover for Dalvin Cook, and also now in Chicago you got to block for Tyreek Cohen and Jordan Howard. What was that like, playing with those 2 type of players?
Yeah, it was cool. Me and Tyreek, same draft class, so it was definitely cool. It was weird getting used to his running style versus Jordan Howard's running style at first, but it was definitely a great experience to play with both of those players.
So what would you say your best moment was, or best memory you had with Chicago in your career?
I'll say, and I think my best moment in Chicago actually came from a practice. It was one, and they weren't allowing us one day. I think it's the first week of pads, and they weren't allowing us to go live. And then I guess they just wanted to get the energy up, so they allowed us to go live one day. So they threw me a pass in the flats, and I come up, I catch the ball, and I think it's Fuller, Kyle Fuller. Maybe I'm talking about the wrong brother, but he's sitting there in the flats to tackle me, and I absolutely just ran through him. And yeah, it was bad, but the whole practice after that moment, it just took off. And I remember the vets coming up to me, and they're like, "Man, you absolutely changed the course of practice." Like, because everybody was kind of just loafing through practice, just trying to get through. And then at that moment, like, everybody's like, "All right, let's get it." I kind of turned the knob on practice, and it was crazy because a lot of vets, they were trying to mess with Fuller a little bit and start a little stuff like, "Hey, you let a little rookie run you over, man." But I say that's one of the craziest moments from.
Well, I had the roster. I had the roster pulled up here right now. It is Kyle Fuller. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want to ask you. Obviously, after the NFL, you got to play in the AAF league, and what was the experience like? You got to play with the Orlando Apollos, and what was that like playing in a different league?
I mean, that was one of the leagues. It was kind of weird because the league, it folded, but it was something that going into it, we kind of seen coming. Just a lot of the organization and things of that nature just didn't seem like they had everything together. But one thing I will say, Coach Spurrier, although he's a Gator, he's definitely one of the coaches that I see why guys love him. He's a guy that at that point I didn't really care about playing ball anymore, just dealing with all the political stuff and all that. I just lost my passion for the game, but he made football fun for me. And that's one thing I can say about playing in that league with him, playing with Spurrier. They ultimately decided that they didn't need a fullback. And at that point I just moved on, but I didn't have any hard feelings. I was like, man, this just isn't for me. I just got to figure out what's next for me in life.
I know you're doing a lot of things now with podcasting and being an author, but I don't know if the right opportunity presents for yourself. Would you consider coming back to the NFL?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I just don't have that itch.
Right.
A few years ago, like I used to just sit by the phone and just see if my agent was reaching out to me. Like I don't even care anymore. I moved past that stage. To be honest, I'm just focused on what's next.
So speaking, I want to go back to Florida State real quick because obviously we lost a legend head coach, Bobby Bowden, one of the best recruiters in my opinion when it comes to recruiting players. So what was it like? Obviously you didn't play for him, but what was it like playing for Florida State and then seeing what did he mean to Florida State and the rest of the league?
Man, Bobby Bowden is Florida State. When you listen to all the stories, like I didn't play for him, but I feel like I know him personally just because of the people that he invested in, the way they talk about him. Some of the coaches that I played for that were under him, and you just hear the stories and the relationships and impacts that he made on people's lives, and it just resonates in the hearts of everybody. Like even your everyday person that's you may not think even knows Bobby Bowden, they have a great story to tell you about him. Like him having a normal conversation with them in the grocery store or something. I feel like that's what he did. He came in this world and he served and he impacted lives. And that's a person. He did what he did on the field, and one of the winningest coaches in college football history. But the impact that he made in lives outside of the game, man, you can never take that away. And I think that's something that will live on forever.
So now looking back at your career, and obviously you guys overcame a lot, being homeless and obviously reaching your goal to the NFL. How grateful are you to be in this position right now to play the game you loved and playing in front of your family? And now you have a book called Trials to Triumph. I feel like that's a great name for a book. Now you're a podcaster, you're in the podcast game, and obviously you've been interviewed a lot of times about your story. So what would you call your story? And then how grateful are you to be in this position?
Yeah, it's definitely a blessing. I'm definitely grateful. Just sometimes I have to sit back and look at everything that I overcame and just understand, like, wow, like it's crazy. Like when you're going through it, you don't really understand. But now now that I'm older, you just sit back and reflect sometimes. And like, when you face a different battle, a different test, you just have to kind of let yourself know, like, all right, I've overcome things like this before, and you have to kind of. And I use that as motivation, inspiration to keep pushing forward. But it's definitely a blessing, and trials of triumph. That's the perfect name for it. Yeah, although I've overcame so much, obstacles are going to continue to come, and we're going to continue to fight and continue pushing forward, no matter what challenge stands in our way. And I truly believe, no matter what, we're going to overcome that.
So where can people find your book and podcast?
My book, you can find it on Amazon, and my podcast, we have a YouTube page on Sports Den. It'll be on there. It's on Apple Podcasts as well, the Sports Den. And then we have Twitter, the Sports Den, and then the podcast is called Inside Drills, but it's on the Sports Den network. So definitely check that out. We've been doing it's probably like 3 weeks in now.
Wow.
But yeah, we definitely got some good stuff coming. We'll have Jameis Winston, his trainer will be on tomorrow. We'll have him on the show.
Yeah, so I've seen. I went to your page and I've seen a couple of videos. You guys are doing a great job with that. And I want to ask you, how often do you guys record though?
It just really depends. Like last week we did it. We had 3 episodes just because it's the first Florida State game. But usually we were just doing 1 a week. And I think it just all depends on the week, to be honest. If it's a pretty big event that week, we want to kind of get a few different guests on, then we may have more than just 1 episode that week. So we just kind of play it by ear, but we know regardless, we're gonna have 1 episode on Wednesday.
So speaking of football being back, what's it like just to see fans back in the stadiums in general? Man,
I love seeing it. I just watched the game on Sunday, and seeing packed houses and teams getting to use that home field advantage, it's a beauty. Like last year, I think a lot of teams came in and they were able to. A lot of people, that pressure, they're not able to deal with that pressure. You've seen a lot of different upsets last year because teams they were coming into stadiums without that fan presence, so they could come in and they didn't really have to worry about getting rattled. But now you're coming into your opponent's stadium with a packed house, false starts, a whole bunch of different penalties. It plays a bigger part now. So seeing something that makes the game so special play its course is huge.
Mm-hmm. So what advice would you give to the kids that are trying to reach to their goals and going through the same thing?
My biggest thing is never give up and don't allow anybody to tell you what you can or can't do. If you believe in it, and keep pushing forward and stay the course. Because why everybody will give you a reason why you can't do it. Why not you? Looking back, everybody had a reason for why Freddy Stevenson couldn't do this or that, but we beat all those odds when they were stacked against us. So if I could do it, why can't you?
Yeah. So what's it like now sharing your story on different platforms like this? And actually, I didn't realize you were on the Jim Larry show too, which is awesome. Catching the Heat podcast. I had him on the show too. And what's it like just sharing your story on different platforms like this?
And it's been cool. To be honest, when I started sharing my story, I didn't know that this many people would be receptive to it, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I just started off when I was sharing my story. It started off as me just wanting to help athletes that were struggling with that transition, and then it became something bigger than what I even imagined. So just being able to see so many people be receptive to my story, it's definitely been a blessing.
So now we do this fun little segment on the show. It's called the rapid fire segment. You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So I want to start off with Florida State. What are your thoughts on this team for this year? Obviously, they lost their first game against Notre Dame, I believe. So do you think they can rebound from that? And how talented are they this year?
Yeah, I think they look solid against Notre Dame. After the past few seasons, I think this was the first time in a while that fans can actually truly be excited about Florida State football. You're looking on their schedule and seeing games that they have a strong chance to win versus the past few years. You didn't really have much faith in the team. So I think this will be one of those years that they'll have an opportunity to have a winning record finally and turn that corner. I don't see it being a drastic change as far as like 10 wins, but 7, 8 wins, I can see that being possible.
Speaking of another inspiring story, your quarterback, Mackenzie Millen, he overcame a lot with his horrific injury. And man, what do you think about this guy? He's a warrior, in my opinion.
Man, yeah, when I saw him come into the game, you just don't know what's going through his head, man. I couldn't even tell you, but everything that he's went through, that's one of the most inspirational stories in all of sports. Just him being able to come back from that, and he went out there, like you said, like a warrior. You wouldn't even know that he went through the injury. He's playing tough, he's playing hard. A lot of guys they come in after injuries like that, and they're kind of hesitant. But he came out there and he was firing on all cylinders. So just to see him come back, that's a testament in itself. When doctors were telling him that it probably wasn't going to happen again. So just to see him do that, that's cool.
Yeah. So are you guys planning on going to any games this year?
Yeah, I'm gonna probably be up at the Louisville game and the Miami game.
So so obviously still early to tell, but who do you think will win the national championship this year? And who's your top 3 ranking so far?
Top 3. National championship, I'm gonna have to roll with just off the first week. I'll say Bama.
Mm-hmm.
And top 3, Bama, Georgia. Who's the third?
Everybody's saying UCLA should deserve, I think, top
3?
Yeah.
I don't know, because the LSU team I wasn't big on them before the season.
Yeah.
I felt like they weren't that good. But I guess the only team we know Georgia's gonna be in it. So I mean, I guess you could say UCLA, but I would still put Clemson in my top 3 because they lost to a team that I feel like is gonna be in that conversation in Georgia. So I don't know if Clemson is going to lose anymore throughout the season. They got a solid defense.
What's your hype music?
My hype music, like before a game?
Yeah.
When I played?
Yeah, before a game.
I would listen to, it's 2 songs I always had to listen to before a game. Swag Surfing by Lil Wayne off the No Ceilings mixtape. And Plies, he got a song called Money Straight. Those are 2 songs that if I listen to those 2, I'm ready to go.
Have you listened to the new Drake album yet?
I listened to a little bit of it.
That shit is fire. I like that.
Yes, it's a few songs off of it that I'm really like. I think it's one called Poppy's Home.
Yeah,
I like that one. That's a dope song.
Yeah. So for you, obviously NFL is coming back this Thursday, and you're a Buccaneers fan. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, and the Cowboys play the Buccaneers week 1 this Thursday. What are you most looking forward to this season?
Man, it's funny that you say that because I'm a Bucs fan, but last year, every single week, I don't know why I did it, but I'm always betting on the Cowboys, and they lost me so much money last year. So it's like I got a love-hate relationship with the Cowboys.
Are you gonna bet on them again this year?
I got to see how it's going. I would be shocked if they come out on Thursday and get them a win, though.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the Buccaneers? Do you think they have a chance to repeat?
Yeah, they do. It's just it comes down to what everybody else brings to the table. I think because last year, to be honest, it just all depends on what matchups they get in the playoffs. They got matched up with the Packers in the playoffs. I think if things worked out to where the Rams caught the Bucks, I don't think you see the Bucks in the championship because Aaron Donald and that front four gave them fits during the regular season.
Wow.
And I don't see them beating the Rams. So it worked out in their favor that they didn't have to play them in the playoffs.
Funniest moment or funniest thing that happened to you throughout your career?
Funniest moment. I'm trying to think. I'll probably say it's a lot of it. It'll just take me forever to but freshman, you see the TikToks and stuff about people waking up late for workouts and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm a freshman, and they told me that workout. I was thinking that workout started on that Monday, and I woke up super late. Wow. And then I'm running up to the stadium, and I go to the strength coach. I'm like, man, my back. He's like, what are you talking about your back? I'm like, man, I missed workouts. He's like, they don't start until next week. Man. All right, I'm sweating, nervous. I'm like, man, I'm cussed up.
That's a good thing that they reminded you.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, that was definitely one of the, when you talk about being relieved.
Right.
Man, I was sweating on the way there, man. I was like, oh man, I'm finna be that guy. You always hear the stories about the freshmen waking up late. And I kept telling myself I wasn't gonna be that guy. So, but yeah, it was funny.
So
they're kind of laughing at
me. So I know that you're in the podcasting world now and then author, but down the line in the future, would you consider being a coach in high school, college, or NFL?
I definitely could see myself doing it at the high school level. I think that's for me, building those relationships and keeping that community involvement. That's where I would want to do it.
So before we get to so the last two things here now, our team is part of this. You mentioned it earlier, Hugh Jackson. So we're part of his foundation. We're trying to help him prevent human trafficking, making sure the community stays safe and the kids stay safe. So I'll send you his foundation so you can go check it out.
Okay.
Yeah, and before we get to the last thing, speaking of Hugh Jackson, now he's offensive coordinator at Tennessee State with Eddie George. So what are your thoughts on the growth of HBCU schools? Now you have Jackson State with Dion Sanders and now Eddie George.
Yeah, man, I love to see it. People forget that back in the day, the HBCU schools, they ran everything.
Yeah.
FAMU used to beat the snot out of Florida State's nose back in the day. So it's good to see these guys getting the publicity that they deserve. To one of the best players in the league, but Darius Leonard for the Colts comes from HBCU, and some of your top players in the league come from those schools as well. So showing them that they have just as much talent in those HBCUs that they do anywhere is just hard when they don't get the same coverage. But now that they're bringing coverage and eyes to their platform, you're gonna see that they do have guys that can ball and guys that can play at HBCU. So it's good to see. I think it's going to help those guys out a lot and get them opportunities at the next level.
And the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and the essential workers right now?
Man, I'm continuously keeping you guys in my prayers. I know this is probably one of the toughest times that you're ever gonna face. Just keep in my prayers. Hope that your family stays safe, and we appreciate every single thing that you do. Your hard work can never go unnoticed. And if nobody else tells you this, I want you to know that I appreciate you.
Yeah, well said there. They deserve a pay raise for sure. Before we end this, I just want to pay respects to actor Michael K. Williams. He passed away yesterday, and just want to send my prayers to him. Well, he was a great actor, in my opinion.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, but there it is. Yeah, so there it is. That wraps up episode 895 with former NFL fullback, former Florida State fullback, Freddy Stevenson. This guy's story is really inspiring. Homeless to NFL. Go check it out. Go check out his podcast, his book called Trials of Triumph. Man, Freddie, I just want to say thank you for joining the show. Your family is such inspiration. This is truly an honor. I learned a lot today from this, and keep up the great work. And if you guys need help with your podcast, we can help you out there too. And we would like to have you back on the show at some point down the line so you can meet the full team. But like I said, keep up the great work. Your story should be on ESPN 30 for 30. It should be a documentary because this is how inspiring it is. But you and your family stay safe.
Without a doubt, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no problem.